The notification sound on my phone made me smile. It was from Jennifer, my daughter. We'd been texting back and forth about her family's summer plans, and I'd been excited to hear more about their trip to the lake house. My lake house, actually. The one I'd bought 15 years ago when Sarah, my late wife, was still alive. The place where Jennifer had spent every summer of her childhood, where she'd learned to fish, where she'd had her first kiss on the dock. But as I read the message, the smile froze on my face. Dad, we need to talk about the lake house reservation. I set down my coffee cup, my retirement routine suddenly feeling very far away. I'd been up since 6, had already gone for my morning walk around the neighborhood, read the paper. At 62, I'd settled into a comfortable rhythm since retiring from my accounting firm 3 years ago. A rhythm that included being available for my family, especially for Jennifer and her 7-year-old son, Tyler. My phone buzzed again. Can you call me when you get a chance? I didn't wait. I hit the call button immediately. Hey, Dad, Jennifer answered on the second ring. Her voice had that tone, the one I'd learned to recognize over the past few years, since she'd married Brad. Careful, measured, like she was about to ask for something. What's going on with the lake house? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. I thought you were excited about the 4th of July week. Tyler's been talking about it non-stop when I pick him up from school. I heard her take a breath. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Brad and I have been discussing it, and we think it might be better if it's just the 3 of us this year. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd been planning this trip for months, had already stocked the boat with new life jackets in Tyler's size, had researched the best fishing spots, had even bought sparklers for the 4th of July because Tyler had mentioned he'd never seen them. Just the 3 of you, I repeated slowly. At my lake house. Well, yes. Brad thinks it would be good for us to have some family bonding time. You know, just us. Tyler needs quality time with his parents. And, Jennifer, I am his family. Of course you are, Dad. That's not what I meant. It's just that Brad feels like we never get alone time with Tyler. And since you're always around, my voice was sharper than I intended. I pick him up from school twice a week because you and Brad both work late. I take him to soccer practice every Saturday because Brad has his golf league. I know, and we appreciate that, but what? But you want to use my lake house, the one I pay property taxes on, the one I maintain, the one I winterize every year, and you don't want me there? There was a long pause. In the background, I could hear Brad's voice, muffled, saying something. Brad says you're being dramatic, Dad. That stopped me cold, Brad says. How many conversations had started that way over the past 3 years? Put Brad on the phone. Dad, I don't think... Put him on the phone, Jennifer. More muffled voices. Then Brad's voice, smooth and confident, the same voice that had convinced me to co-sign the loan for his revolutionary tech startup 2 years ago. The startup that still hadn't turned a profit. Hey, Rob, look, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Jen and I just thought it would be nice to have a nuclear family trip, you know? Nothing personal. To my lake house. Well, sure. You're not using it that week anyway, right? And we already told Tyler, and he's so excited. You wouldn't want to disappoint him, would you? There it was. The same emotional manipulation that had become Brad's signature move. Using Tyler as leverage. Brad, I've been planning to use it that week. I've been planning it with Tyler for months. Come on, Rob. You see him all the time. We barely get any time with our own son because of work. Surely you can understand that. You raised a kid, you know how important family time is. Family time. As if I wasn't family. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up before Brad could respond. I sat there in my kitchen, the morning sun streaming through the windows, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not since Sarah died 5 years ago from cancer. That hollow feeling in my chest, that sense of not mattering, My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Dad, please don't be difficult about this. You're always welcome to visit another weekend. Visit my own lake house another weekend when it was convenient for them. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to my office and opened my filing cabinet. I pulled out the folder labeled Jennifer and Brad. Financial. It was thicker than I liked to admit. The lake house wasn't the only thing I'd provided. There was the $75,000 I'd co-signed for Brad's startup loan. The $15,000 I'd loaned them for the down payment on their house 3 years ago, which they'd never mentioned paying back. The new HVAC system I'd paid for when theirs broke last winter, $8,000. The car I'd bought Jennifer when her old one died, $28,000, because Brad insisted she needed something safe for Tyler. And then there was the daily support, the free childcare, the emergency babysitting, the times I'd paid for Tyler's school supplies, his soccer fees, his birthday parties because money was tight. I'd done it all willingly, happily even, because Jennifer was my daughter and Tyler was my grandson. And after Sarah died, they were all I had left. But as I sat there looking at the numbers, I realized something. I'd been so desperate to be needed, so afraid of being alone, that I'd let myself become an ATM with a heartbeat. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jennifer. Brad wants to know if we can use your credit card for groceries while we're up there. Ours is almost maxed out. I stared at that message for a long time. They wanted to exclude me from a trip to my own property, and they wanted me to pay for their food while they were there. Something inside me shifted. It was like a door closing, or maybe opening. I wasn't sure which. I opened my laptop and started going through my email. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I needed to understand what was really going on. Jennifer had been using my email for years, for various family planning things, because I had a good organizational system. Shared calendars, group messages, about Tyler's schedule, that sort of thing. I found the email thread from 3 weeks ago. Subject line, Lake House, 4th of July. The first message was from Brad to Jennifer. I talked to Caitlin. She and her family can definitely make it for the 4th. Told her about the lake house and she's super excited. My heart started pounding. Jennifer's response. That's great. It'll be nice to have another couple there. Tyler loves playing with their kids. Should we tell Dad he can't come before or after we invite them? Brad. After. Easier to make it sound like a space issue. The house only sleeps 8 comfortably, right? Us, Tyler, Caitlin's family of 4. Literally no room for Rob. The house slept 10 comfortably. They knew that. Jennifer. I feel bad. He's been so excited about teaching Tyler to fish. Brad, babe, your dad is there all the time. Tyler sees him more than he sees us. This is about us reclaiming our family time. Plus, Caitlin's husband owns that tech company I've been trying to network with. This could be huge for the business. Jennifer. You're right. It's just one weekend. Brad. Exactly. And Rob will get over it. He always does. Remember when we needed money for Tyler's private school and he said no at first? We just didn't talk to him for a week and he came around. Same playbook. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. This wasn't about family bonding. This was about Brad using my lake house to network for his failing business. And Jennifer was going along with it, knowing I'd been planning this trip with Tyler for months. My phone rang. Jennifer. I answered, my voice calmer than I felt. Hey, sweetheart. Hey, Dad. So, about the lake house. Have you thought about it? I have. Can I ask you something first? Who's going to be there? A pause. Too long. Just us. Me, Brad, and Tyler. No one else? No. Why? She was lying to me. My daughter was lying directly to my face. And you want to use my credit card for groceries? Well, if you don't mind, we're just a bit tight this month. Brad had to put some money into the business, and Jennifer, the business that I co-signed a $75,000 loan for 2 years ago. The business that was supposed to turn a profit within 6 months. It takes time to build something, Dad. You know that. I do. I also know that Brad's been making the minimum payments on that loan, and it's affecting my credit score. Silence. I didn't know that, she said quietly. Did you know that legally, I'm on the hook for that entire loan if his business fails? Dad, it's not going to fail. Brad's really close to a breakthrough. That's actually why this lake house trip is important. He's networking with some potential investors. There it was, the truth slipping out. I thought it was about family bonding. Just the three of you. Another pause. It is. I mean, there might be one other couple. Stop, I said. Just stop. Dad, I saw the emails, Jennifer. I know about Caitlin and her family. I know this is about Brad networking. I know you were planning to tell me there's no room because the house only sleeps 8. I know that you discussed not talking to me for a week to manipulate me into giving you money for Tyler's school. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Dad, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you're lying to your father? Can you explain why you're using my property, my money, my grandchild as tools to get what you want? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Jennifer? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like I'm just a wallet to you and Brad, a convenient source of money and free labor. That's not fair. We appreciate everything you do. Do you? Because excluding me from a trip to my own lake house while asking me to pay for your groceries doesn't feel like appreciation. It feels like I'm being used. Dad, please. Tyler's so excited. Don't, I said, my voice hard. Don't use my grandson to manipulate me. That's what Brad does. And I'm disappointed to see you doing it too. She was crying now. What do you want from me? I want you to tell me the truth. I want you to respect me. I want you to treat me like a father, not an ATM. I do respect you. Then respect me enough to be honest. Are you inviting another family to my lake house for the 4th of July? A long, painful silence. Then, yes. And were you planning to tell me there was no room for me? Brad thought. I don't care what Brad thought. Were you? Yes, she whispered. I closed my eyes. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. First, you're not going to the lake house for the 4th of July. Any of you. What? Dad, you can't. It's my house, Jennifer. I absolutely can. Second, I'm going to contact the bank tomorrow about removing myself as co-signer from Brad's business loan. You can't do that. We'll lose everything. You should have thought about that before treating me like I don't matter. Third, I need you to arrange alternative childcare for Tyler. I won't be available for pickups or babysitting anymore. Dad, please. I'm sorry. We made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to call on my birthday. This was calculated. This was planned. This was discussed in emails for weeks. You knew exactly what you were doing. What about Tyler? He loves spending time with you, and I love spending time with him. But I'm not going to be used as free childcare while being excluded from family events. When you're ready to include me as an actual family member, not just when you need something, we can talk about me being in Tyler's life again. You're really going to keep me from my own son because we didn't invite you to one trip? No, Jennifer. I'm setting boundaries because you and Brad have been using me for years, and I finally realized it. This isn't about one trip. This is about a pattern of behavior that I enabled by being too afraid of losing you to stand up for myself. She was sobbing now. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe I let you do this to me for so long, I said, and hung up. My phone immediately started ringing. Jennifer, then Brad, then Jennifer again. I turned it off. I sat in my office as the morning turned to afternoon, and I did something I should have done years ago. I went through every financial document, every loan, every instance where I'd given money or support. Then I started making calls. The first call was to my bank. I explained the situation with the co-signed loan and asked about my options. The banker was sympathetic but clear. I couldn't just remove myself. But what I could do was demand immediate payment of my portion, which would force a refinance without my name. The second call was to my lawyer, an old friend from my accounting days. He listened to the whole story and then said something I needed to hear. "Rob, this is financial elder abuse. Even if it's coming from your family, I'd never thought of it that way. What they're doing, using your emotional attachment to Tyler to extract money and resources while deliberately excluding you, that's textbook manipulation. You have every right to protect yourself." He helped me draft a formal letter to Brad's business, demanding payment of my portion of the loan within 30 days or I'd force a refinance. The third call was to my daughter's house. It went to voicemail. I kept my voice steady. "Jennifer, this is Dad. I've contacted my lawyer and my bank. You have 30 days to refinance Brad's business loan without me, or I'll be forced to take legal action to recover my portion of the debt. Additionally, I'm no longer available for childcare or financial support. I love you and Tyler very much, but I can't continue to be treated this way. When you're ready to have an honest conversation about our relationship, I'm willing to talk, but the free ride is over." I hung up and turned my phone off again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Tyler's face when I'd promised to teach him to fish, about the sparklers I'd bought, about whether I'd just destroyed my relationship with my only child and grandchild over pride. But then I remembered the email. We just didn't talk to him for a week, and he came around. This wasn't about pride. This was about survival. The next morning, my phone had 47 missed calls and 32 text messages. Most were from Jennifer, ranging from angry to pleading to angry again. But there was one from Brad that made my blood boil. "Rob, you're being incredibly selfish. Do you know what you're doing to Tyler? He keeps asking why Grandpa is mad at him. You're hurting a 7-year-old boy because you didn't get invited to one trip. Grow up. Call off your lawyer, or I promise you'll never see your grandson again." Threats. He was actually threatening to keep Tyler from me. I called my lawyer immediately and read him the text. "Screenshot that," he said. "That's parental alienation, and it could work in your favor if this gets ugly. Also, Rob, don't back down. I've seen this before. If you cave now, it'll only get worse." The texts from Jennifer got more desperate as the week went on. The business couldn't get refinancing without my cosign. Their credit wasn't good enough. They'd have to close the business. They'd lose everything. I didn't respond to any of them. On day 12, Jennifer showed up at my house. I opened the door to find her standing on my porch, her eyes red from crying. "Dad, please, can we talk?" I stepped aside and let her in. We sat in the living room, the same room where I used to read her bedtime stories when she was Tyler's age. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "You were right. About all of it. I've been a terrible daughter, Jennifer. No, let me say this. I've been thinking about it for days. You've been there for me my entire life. When Mom died, you were the one who held me together. You paid for my master's degree. You were there when Tyler was born, staying up all night with him when I was too exhausted. You've never asked for anything in return, and I repaid that by treating you like an ATM," I finished quietly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "It started small. Brad would suggest asking you for help, and I'd feel guilty. But then you'd say yes, and it got easier and easier, until we just expected it, until we planned around it, until we felt entitled to it. What does Brad say about all this?" Her face hardened. "Brad says you're manipulating me with guilt, that you're overreacting, that family helps family, and you're being petty. And what do you say?" She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "I say I'm ashamed. I say I don't know how I became this person. I say I'm afraid I've lost my father because I was too weak to stand up to my husband. You haven't lost me, sweetheart. But things have to change. I know. Dad, about the loan we can't refinance. Brad's business is failing. It's been failing for months. We're going to have to declare bankruptcy. I'd suspected as much. And the house? We'll lose it if we can't make the mortgage. Brad's been using credit cards to cover the payments. Why didn't you come to me? She laughed bitterly. We were going to. That's what the lake house trip was really about. Brad wanted to network with Caitlin's husband, see if he'd invest in the business. And if that didn't work, we were going to ask you for more money. Another loan, maybe $100,000 this time. I felt sick, and you went along with this. I did, because it was easier than facing the truth. Easier than admitting we'd been living beyond our means for years. Easier than telling Brad no. Jennifer, you're 35 years old. You have a master's degree. You're smart and capable. When did you stop trusting yourself? I think when Mom died. I was so scared of losing anyone else that I just went along with whatever Brad wanted, and he wanted a lot. A lot of things we couldn't afford. And you were always there to catch us when we fell. So we kept falling. We sat in silence for a long moment. I can't keep doing this, I said finally. I won't be your safety net anymore. Not like this. I know. And I don't want you to be. Dad, I'm leaving Brad. I'd been expecting many things, but not that. What? I've been thinking about it for a while. Since before this all happened, actually. He's not a good partner. He's not a good father. He uses people. He used you, and I let him because it was easier than facing our problems. But I'm done. I talked to a lawyer yesterday. I'm filing for divorce. Jennifer, I know it's going to be hard. I'll have to sell the house anyway once we file bankruptcy. I'll probably have to move in with a friend for a while. But I need to do this. For me. For Tyler. To show him that you don't treat people you love like they're disposable. I reached over and took her hand. You're not alone in this. I'll help you. But it's going to be different this time. I know. I'll help you find a lawyer. I'll help you figure out a budget. I might even help with a security deposit on an apartment. But I'm not going to enable you anymore. I'm not going to pay for things you can't afford or solve problems that you need to solve yourself. She nodded. That's fair. That's more than fair. And I need you to mean it this time. No going back to Brad because it's easier. No asking for money because you miss your lifestyle. This has to be real change, Jennifer. For both of us. It will be. I promise. 3 months later, Jennifer and Tyler moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. The divorce was messy. Brad fought her on everything. Tried to turn Tyler against both of us. Even tried to get me brought into court for alienation of affection. The business declared bankruptcy. Brad tried to blame me. Said I'd sabotaged him by pulling my support. But the records showed he'd been mismanaging money for years, using business funds for personal expenses, lying to investors. Jennifer got primary custody of Tyler. Brad got every other weekend and had to pay child support, which he constantly complained about. But Jennifer was different. She stuck to her budget. She worked hard at her job and got a promotion. She went to therapy to work on her codependency issues. She taught Tyler about money, about respect, about boundaries. And Tyler started coming over every Thursday for dinner. Just him and me. We'd cook together, do his homework, and on special occasions, we'd go to the lake house. The first time we went back there together, just the two of us, Tyler asked me why we'd never gone before. Sometimes things get complicated, I told him. Sometimes people forget what's really important. But what matters is that we remember now. He was quiet for a moment, then said, Mom says you taught her how to stand up for herself. She did that on her own. I just stopped letting her lean on me so much that she forgot she could stand. That's pretty cool, Grandpa. Yeah, I said, ruffling his hair. Yeah, it is. A year after that confrontation in my kitchen, I was sitting on the dock at the lake house. It was early September, and the summer crowds were gone. Tyler was inside taking a nap after a long day of fishing. Jennifer was sitting beside me, our feet dangling in the water. I never thanked you, she said. For what? for standing up to me, for refusing to let me use you anymore, for loving me enough to let me fail. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I know, but it was what I needed, what we both needed." She paused. "I saw Brad last week, at Tyler's soccer game. How's he doing? He's got a new girlfriend. She looks young. And he's got some new business venture he was trying to tell me about, some cryptocurrency thing. And I felt nothing but pity for her, because I know exactly what he is now, and I know what I was when I was with him. Someone who'd rather be comfortable than honest. Someone who'd rather be taken care of than take responsibility. You've come a long way, sweetheart. We both have." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "You know what the best part is? Tyler's learning to be different too. Last week, his friend asked to copy his homework, and he said no. Said it wouldn't help his friend learn. I almost cried." I smiled. "That's the kind of man he's going to be, because that's the kind of mother you've become." We sat there as the sun set over the lake, father and daughter, comfortable in our silence, secure in our boundaries, finally understanding that love doesn't mean giving until you're empty. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means letting people face consequences. Sometimes it means standing firm when everything in you wants to give in. And sometimes, just sometimes, it means finding yourself again in the process of refusing to be lost. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor, the one I'd been having coffee with lately. Margaret, a widow like me who'd lost her husband around the same time I'd lost Sarah. We'd started talking at the community center, discovered we both loved hiking, had coffee a few times. "How's the lake house trip going?" her text read. I smiled and typed back, "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." Jennifer saw my smile. "Is that Margaret?" "Maybe." "Dad, you're blushing." "I am not. You absolutely are. This is amazing. When do I get to meet her?" "Slow down. We're just friends." Just like you and Mom were just friends when you met at that accounting conference?" I laughed. "Okay, maybe more than friends. But it's early. I'm taking my time." "Good. You deserve to be happy, Dad. You deserve someone who appreciates you." "So do you, sweetheart. I'm working on it. Therapy's helping. I'm learning to be okay on my own first, before I even think about dating again." "That's wise. I learned from the best." She squeezed my hand. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. You're my daughter. I could never give up on you. I just had to learn that loving you didn't mean letting you hurt me." Tyler burst out of the house, energy restored from his nap. "Grandpa! Mom! The fish are jumping! Can we go out on the boat?" I looked at Jennifer. She looked at me. We both smiled. "Absolutely," I said, standing up. "But this time, you're driving." Tyler's eyes went wide. "Really? Really?" "With supervision, of course." "You're 7, not 17. As I watched my grandson carefully take the wheel of the boat, Jennifer beside him giving instructions, I realized something. I had spent years being afraid of being alone, of not being needed, of losing my family. But in setting boundaries, in demanding respect, in refusing to be used, I hadn't lost my family at all. I'd found them again. And more importantly, I'd found myself. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tyler was laughing, his small hands gripping the wheel with determination. Jennifer was smiling, really smiling, in a way I hadn't seen since before she'd married Brad. My phone buzzed again. "Margaret, dinner when you get back? I want to hear all about it." I typed back, "It's a date." And it was. Not just with Margaret, though I was looking forward to that, but with life, with possibility, with a future where I wasn't just a bank account or a babysitter or a backup plan, where I was just Rob, father, grandfather, and maybe someday soon something more. And that was more than enough.